I'm a New York City kid born just after World War II. My parents were wonderful, good people, both artists. The 50s were an era of optimism and freedom, and yet a period of stifling conformity. They extended well into the early 60s. Before Kennedy was assassinated, I escaped New York by going to college at an early age, attending Rhode Island School of Design. We were art students, and the 60s were about to happen. You could feel it in the air. Dylan, Stones, and the Beatles. Something big was about to happen, but so was Vietnam. And I was drafted into the Army even though I was conscientiously against that war. Fortunately, I spent my tour of duty stationed in Panama at the School of the Americas. I served as the command artist of the Southern Command. On returning to the U.S., the 60s had exploded and a new generation with a new explanation was on the move. California dreaming was happening, and I hitchhiked out to California to be a part of it. San Francisco was the hub of it all. The 60s saw the arrival of the civil rights movement, women's liberation movement, gay and lesbian freedom movement, and peace movement, all coming together. Social tectonics at work. Powerful movements of consciousness. Ideas about diversity, lifestyle, and environmentalism took root. All of these had been a long time coming as hypocrisy, political dogmas, and the paradigms of the times were challenged and hammered away at by the likes of Dylan, Ginsberg, and Alan Watts. A whole generation came together to help change the world. In San Francisco, the Haight-Ashbury and the Castro districts were the centers of the New Order of Freedom. All this was happening as the war in Vietnam was escalating. Young brothers coming home in body bags, and nightly news of body counts, whole villages, women and children of Vietnam getting caught in the crossfire. Exactly who, or rather what, was the enemy? The Great Red Tide. Yikes. We believed love could save the world. If we just give peace a chance, as John and Yoko sang it. I did everything I could as the decades stumbled along, and then I fell into something wonderful. Love. I had two great love affairs at that time. The first was with nature. The tangled, misty, grassy glades of lichen-covered moss, draped oaks, and the creeks and canyons in the jagged, foggy headlands of coastal California. Wow, the giant redwoods were the cathedrals of creation to me. They are silent sanctuaries with beds of clover at their feet, their cool toes sipping from the gurgling clear water salmon creeks of the watershed. The golden summer sun and winter gray rains turned everything green, transformational magic. The second affair was falling in love with an enchantingly mystical California girl and living with her in a big Sur-type cabin in Marin County headlands. We had a wood stove, kitty cats, and out the door was nature, an entire valley of living, breathing, uninterrupted nature. It was a perfect place to have children, and we did. Two wonderful beings who instantly brought meaning to my life. I toured, presented, and spoke my way around the country, bridging the math, art, and science worlds. All the time, turning kids onto an array of wonderment that let them get their hands on infinity and sent their imagination soaring into the unified field of infinite potential. I loved working with the kids. Their rapid-fire experimentation and intense absorption of phenomena always fascinated me. I was pursuing my bliss. Then I found myself sucked into a strange basin of attraction. It was the ultimate serpentine labyrinth lair of the shadow world, but better known as Hollywood, a place where the forces of good and evil go mano a mano daily in a spiritual battle for your money and your soul. I unwound a thread as I went in. I became an art director, then production designer. My career careened from space hunter to vampires and tombstone to desperate housewives. I found myself in remote ocean sanctuaries in the Bahamas, Douglas fir forests of British Columbia, and boat building in mysterious mangrove swamps in Mexico. I designed and built sets in the mountain habitats of the Chiricahua Apache and in the swirling, slick rock mesa country of Arizona and Southwest. In Turkey, I found myself at the birthplace of Western civilization, building sets among the ruins of ancient Greek, Roman, and Judeo-Christian cultures. What an education in transformational consciousness I received there. Eventually winding back to Los Angeles and TV land and receiving an Emmy for art direction for a TV series called Buddy Pharaoh. I had to appreciate that as an unexpected gift. It left me wondering what's next. The earth still needs saving. All the social issues are in need of a helping hand. Can an Emmy help me yet do some good? I didn't wait long. Somewhere in between jobs, I heard about this crazy arts festival and psychedelic freak show out in the deserts of Nevada, where they burned down a giant wooden man. I saw a small picture of an installation built by some artist out there, all covered in dust, looking like a ghost temple. What a set. It looked cool. I just had to go. And oh my goddess, Burning Man brought me to my spiritual knees the instant I landed on the playa to help David Best build the Temple of Joy that year. It was a perfect storm of young people, radical freedom, intense inclusion, interactive arts, and mind-expanding social experiences in a decommodified environment. I hadn't seen anything like it since the 60s. It was an extensively spiritual, social peak experience for me. The temple was the most wonderful set I have ever worked on ever, and in an astoundingly poignant gesture to honor our beloveds who had departed, we burned it to the ground. I was emotionally hooked. At that point, I knew I had to throw my hat in the ring with this new supernova generation aiming at nothing less than a total global transformation of consciousness on our planet in the throes of environmental breakdown caused by us, of course. I am now deeply devoted to the rise of a new enlightened masculine to join in with the everywhere awakening sacred feminine to form a new constellation of planetarian guardianship and return our beloved blue spinning jewel home back into the balance that is her true nature. It's time for us all to be about our mother's business, and so here I am leaning in to help call heaven down to earth.
Yeah, it was an honor to be a youth and to be available to the LSD experience in just pure graceful innocence, to understand that I was seeing and feeling that the illusions of my life were being ripped open, and I could see the most exquisite structure of the universe, all of it just pulsing together in this throbbing, beautiful state of being, and the energy vortexes and the trees and the nodes, and how the trees were dancing and singing, and how all the creatures were fitting in, and my skin would peel back until all the veins and the arteries were the roots going into the earth. These are shamanic experiences, and after that I understood the whole native culture move and what that was about, which was real experience. There's nothing she's going to throw at us that isn't for the benefit of us all in this creation. So I'm trusting nature intimately and deeply. I'm trusting the earth. I'm trusting Gaia. I'm trusting the goddess and the high divine masculine consciousness in all of us to jump into this game and get transcendental as smooth and fast as we can.
Save the world and make it a good place to live and love for the rest of humanity.
Well, kids, nice to know you. What an adventure. Can't ever say enough about what life is all about, but boy, quite a ride. I'll tell you one thing. I sure wore myself out happily doing it. And the burn was a super kick-ass. I mean, late in life to get a second shot was just like the 60s. I mean, it was as beautiful and powerful as the 60s. And the movement of that 60s was breathtaking as the unity of people came together for different causes. And it was mostly an American was an American troubadour era, and so I always was akin to that. And then as I learned to become the American troubadour myself, I get to the end of my life and I realize that that movement of the 60s is now going to go totally global. Everything that happened in the 60s goes global. And the liberation of the feminine becomes the guiding principles of our planet. And the civil rights become the human rights of our planet. And consensual freedom is all you need to do what you need to do. If you have partners that agree with you in the games you want to play, that's fine. But the predatory aspects of capitalism must be diminished. And we must understand the social value, collective values, and decommodified creative space. We create that space and allow people to get together for purely social reasons, and we can create a new order of consciousness that makes more sense than anything we've had so far. And this is very likely and very logical, and I want to just say that it requires the guidance, the transfer of guidance for the well-being of our planet must go to the feminine. The feminine has always been the approving agent because she's the nurturer, she is who gives birth, and she is who receives death. And both are honorable forms. And for this, I'm looking forward to seeing Mother Death. Thank you.
Freedom.